Alright, so I'm gonna talk about this Western short film I made back in 2019 because it's probably the most viewed thing I've ever put on YouTube. So for those of you who've seen that film and want to know about the behind the scenes, here it is. But also because I think it's a really great example of how inspiration can come from anywhere and how limitations can help an idea come to life. So here we go. Before we get into it, I'm gonna spoil this film, so if you haven't seen it yet and don't want it spoiled, click the link in the description and check out the film and then come back and watch the behind the scenes. Okay, now here we go.
You've wandered too far off the prairie trail, boy. This here's outlaw territory. I got eyes all in these hills. My boys can clock you from half a mile before you even hear the shots ring out. You want to test me, kid?
At least once a year for probably the last 20 years, I've visited Disney World. It was my dad's favorite vacation spot growing up, and now that my brothers and I have all moved away and we live on opposite sides of the country, we get back together once a year, usually around the holidays, and we spend a couple of days in the parks. One night, while watching the closing fireworks, I noticed something. The flashes are set to sound and music cues that coincide with video that's being projected onto the castle to tell a story. Because of this, though, one thing that really stood out to me was seeing the flash that was synchronized to music and the delay between that and the sound of the explosion, which wasn't synchronized with the music. Now, I knew this happened. Light travels faster than sound, you factor in the distance. It's not like I had some epiphany or something. I'd just been hanging out with my brothers who I've been playing make-believe with and making movies with since we were kids. And I was living in Nevada at the time, which is filled with lots of desert and old western ghost towns, and something about that combination in that moment sparked an idea. The rest came out of necessity, really. Because we didn't really have any money to spend, we had to have a really small cast of only 2 people. And the sets just had to be out in nature or with whatever I had lying around the house. So, using those limitations, I wrote a story about a cocky outlaw whose attempt to rob a stranger's camp ends up putting him on the wrong side of the most famous outlaw around. And it ends with a shootout where bullets whiz by and hit full seconds before we hear the shots ring out. Like the fireworks show. So we're introduced to the outlaw in the opening shot here when he jumps off the train and gathers up the money he stole. Again, this was out of necessity. We didn't have a horse, so this was just a simple way of explaining why he was way out in the middle of nowhere on foot. Also, it was a pretty exciting and cool way to start the film. I just ran from off camera and jumped as high and as far as I could. The train was added in post. It was a 3D model that we just put in on top. I wasn't even originally supposed to play this part, actually. I had even already cast someone else to play the part, but because we ended up having to shoot the whole thing in about 24 hours and we were going to be up all night, and then now we had this stunt we came up with, I just didn't want to ask anyone else to risk getting hurt or stay up all night for no pay, so in I stepped. The campsite is just a bed sheet, some cheap rope, and some wooden poles, but it works. We lit this with 3 gelled LED panels that we flickered and dimmed to match a campfire, and then obviously the actual fire was the key light sometimes too. This scope shot is one of the most important in the piece, I think. The rifle points from our outlaw to the stranger, and then we see that he raises one hand just before the other, almost a signal to his posse like, hold on, let's have some fun with this guy. Poor Levi, man. I'd cut the rope ahead of time and then put a little glue on it to hold it back together. Then on set, I put a little baby powder on it, and I thought that when he pulled his hands apart, it would split the ropes again, throw dust in the air, and sell the effect. But I guess the glue held a little stronger than I thought it would, and he got rope burns all on his wrists. I'm sorry, dude. Alright, here's my delayed shootout. So we see a flash here, and then a second later or so. Yep, and the same here. And here. You get it. The sounds wouldn't actually be this delayed. We did the math and actually had it accurate to start, but I just liked it better this way and thought the effect was a lot more noticeable. And let's face it, with our budget, this movie was never going to be historically accurate, so why make it scientifically accurate? And there's my scared face. A few people asked me why I wore a fake mustache for this movie, and the answer is that I didn't. So I'm not really sure what to take of that. I don't know if it was supposed to be a compliment or an insult, but I feel insulted. The thing I find really interesting about this film is that I just wanted to make a fun movie with my brothers, and because of that desire and our limited resources, I was able to come up with an idea just by watching fireworks. It's cool how embracing your limitations and forcing yourself to work within constraints can help you create an idea. This film's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we made it, and making it's really the fun part. So yeah, I think that's just about it for now. If anybody out there in YouTube land saw the movie and has any other questions about how we made it, drop in the comments and I'll be sure to try and answer your questions. Anyway, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later.